Pulling on banners isn't cheap, and wasting pulls can set you back months, causing you to miss out on some really powerful resonators. For free-to-play players, signature weapons will almost never be worth it, and I'm going to tell you why, and the rare exceptions where they might be. I'm Pity Forte, and I take the guesswork out of gacha. Now, when it comes to resonators and their signature weapons, it's no secret that they'll always perform better with it than without it. And Kuro will try their best to make you pull for the entire kit by making content that's meant to be cleared by their recent characters. But as a whole, signature weapons typically provide character-specific buffs and generic benefits that aren't worth the return on investment, especially on DPS characters. For example, Galbrena's signature weapon, Luxanambra, gives her a damage amp to both her echo damage and heavy attack damage, on top of defense penetration when both of these buffs are active. In a vacuum, it's a great weapon for Galbrena, but not as great for any other gun character. But the Phasic Homogenizer, the new free-to-play gun on the standard weapon banner, performs almost the same as Luxanambra, pretty much making it the go-to weapon option for Galbrena, even over her signature. However, not every signature provides the same level of benefit. Some go further and push their intended users into the next tier by providing effects or stats that change how the character plays. And on occasions, there's no alternative to what the signature offers, creating a sizable gap between the signature weapon and any other option, paid or free to play. In the case of the former, and also a bit of the latter, we have Brant. Out of the box, Brant functions as a fusion support with everything you can ask for out of a character filling the role. He has shields, healing, and buffs. The special caveat though, is that Brant also has the ability to do damage as well. But to do that, you have to have a lot of energy regen. Brent has a passive that gives him an additional 20 points of attack for every 1 point of energy regen he has over 150%. So if he has 170% of energy regen, he gets 400 extra attack. If he has 200%, he gets 1000 attack. And this goes up to 280%, meaning he can get up to 2600 extra attack points. However, building that much ER on Brant is pretty hard to do without completely giving up on his offensive stats. Fortunately for him though, Brant's signature weapon gives him an insane amount of energy regen, as well as offensive buffs, letting him expand his role coverage and change how he's played on the team. This effectively takes Brant from a support to a sub DPS, and for those that invested a little bit more during his initial release, he was even usable as a main DPS for a time. Moving on to the next example for when there's no real alternative to the character's signature, we have Cardia's weapon. Her signature, Defier's Thorn, is special in the sense that it provides stats that no other sword provides and no other character can use like Cardia does. This sword comes with an HP substat and an HP passive, and since Cardia scales off of HP, this is really the only weapon option she has. The next best option for her is another signature weapon, and that's still a 20% DPS loss. So for anyone who did pull Cardia and wants to enjoy the power of one of the strongest resonators in the game, her signature is considered a must pull. Frolova deserves an honorable mention here as well. Her signature doesn't necessarily provide anything other weapons can't, since it just has a crit substat and damage related passives. However, it's so tailored to Frolova that the next best option, which is another signature weapon, is nearly 20% weaker, and the best free to play option is almost 30%. Out of all the characters released though, these three are the only ones who have had signatures that I'd consider genuine must pulls. But other than for those characters, the return on investment for signature weapons is just too low for me to recommend pulling on them, especially for free-to-play players. Horizontal upgrades is almost always better than vertical ones, so those pulls will be better used on pulling for entirely new characters instead. One thing worth keeping track of as we go forward is the gap between free-to-play options and signature weapons. As things stand right now, the gap is very manageable and nothing is worth worrying over yet. We get some standouts here and there such as Augusta, Amith, or Sigrika, whose weapons give them a noticeable boost compared to free-to-play options. But Kuro has given us plenty of characters in between the standouts that have solid free-to-play alternatives. Luckily, if those gaps start to widen at an alarming rate, and the trend starts to form, I'll be there to call it out for you and break down exactly where we're headed. So don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. And if you've had any weapon that you consider a must-pull for one of your favorite characters, let's talk about it below. But until then, this has been Pity Forte, and I'm out.